Okay, so when you have like a ton of articles or like a really, really long Wikipedia page
Yeah.
about something you're totally curious about, but it's kind of like climbing Mount Fuji just to
Yeah.
get to the good stuff.
It's so dense.
That's what we do here on
Yes,
the deep dive.
absolutely.
We take all of that information and we extract the most interesting,
Well,
the juicy bits, just for you.
exactly.
And today,
Yes.
we're diving deep into a topic that you specifically have asked about, and it's a doozy.
Oh, yeah.
It's the story of Shoko Asahara and Aum Shinrikyo, which now is known as Aleph.
Right.
Now, this is a wild story, and it can be a little confusing, especially if you're not familiar with
Yeah.
Japanese history or
Yeah.
culture. So think of us as your Sherpas, your
Yeah.
guides through this
That's a good analogy.
fascinating, although sometimes a little unsettling landscape.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you sent us the Wikipedia page for Shoko Asahara,
Right.
and it is incredibly detailed.
Makes sense.
Like almost overwhelming.
It's a lot.
And so our job here is to help you navigate that information, to
Yeah.
highlight those key moments, the turning points, and to really explain them clearly so you
Yeah.
get a solid understanding of what happened without feeling lost in a sea of,
There's
just
facts and figures and dates and
dates and facts. Exactly.
lineages and all of that.
It can be a lot.
Yeah.
So we want to give you that foundation that
Yeah.
you need to understand
Yes.
this complex story.
So we're looking at the life of a man who was born Matsumoto Chizuo back in 1955.
Okay.
That's the year Disneyland opened.
Wow.
He later changed his name
Right.
to Shoko Asahara
Mm-hmm.
and became the leader of a religious group that ended up doing some truly terrible things.
Yes.
He died in 2018.
Oh, okay.
So we've got a clear beginning and end to this story.
Right. Contained timeline.
Yeah. So our goal is to answer these big questions.
Yeah.
Like, who was this Shoko Asahara guy?
Right.
How did Aum Shinrikyo even start?
Mm.
What were the most important things that happened with this group? And we want to break it all down in a way that's easy to grasp and gives you those
Yeah.
aha moments where
Wow.
things kind of start to click into place.
Those light bulb moments, exactly.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning
Okay.
with Asahara's early life.
Right.
He was born in a part of Japan called Kumamoto Prefecture.
Okay.
Imagine like a countryside area, very rural.
Mm-hmm.
And his family made tatami mats.
Okay.
Those like woven straw mats
Oh, yeah,
you see on the floor in traditional Japanese rooms?
Right.
He was the 7th of 9 kids
Wow.
in a family that wasn't well off.
Okay.
So that kind of upbringing being one of many
Yeah.
in a family working hard to make ends meet,
Right.
that must have shaped his early experiences.
It's absolutely growing up in a large family facing, financial struggles can definitely
Yeah,
leave its mark.
yeah. And on top of that, he also had a significant physical challenge from a very young age.
Oh, okay.
He had congenital glaucoma, which severely affected his vision, and he went to a school for the blind in Kumamoto.
Okay.
And this is where the story gets a little shady.
Shady how?
The Wikipedia page, it kind of talks about his time at the blind school, but
Yeah.
it almost paints two different pictures.
Okay.
One is of a student dealing with a disability,
Right.
but then there are all these other stories
Yeah.
about him being a bully,
Mm.
like using his slightly better eyesight
Oh, wow.
to take advantage of other students who were more visually impaired,
Oh, okay.
even taking their money.
Really?
So it's like, was he just trying to navigate a difficult situation?
Right.
Or was there like a darker side to his personality emerging already?
Yeah, it's fascinating and a bit unsettling, this
Yeah.
contrast, right?
Yeah.
Was he just trying to get by, or was there something else going on?
Right.
And then there's even this rumor mentioned, although it's never been proven,
Okay.
that his eye problems might have been connected to something called Minamata disease.
Minamata disease.
Yeah. Have you heard of this?
I've heard the name, but I don't really.
So it's a really serious illness caused by mercury poisoning.
Oh, wow.
And this actually happened in that region of Japan where he was from.
Oh, really?
A journalist even interviewed Asahara's older brother about it, but it was never confirmed.
Wow.
It makes you wonder, about the environment he grew up in.
Right.
It's really interesting.
So beyond these challenges, though, it sounds like Asahara had some pretty big dreams from a young age.
Okay.
First, he wanted to be a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
which, a very respected profession in Japan.
Absolutely.
But then he set his sights even higher.
Oh, okay.
He wanted to become the prime minister.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, he looked up to figures like Mao Zedong, who led China,
Right.
and Kakue Tanaka, who was this powerful Japanese politician.
Huge leap in ambition.
Yeah, so even before he started getting into like religion and spirituality, there were these little signs of this desire to be in charge, to have control. He actually tried to become the student council president at his school, but he didn't win.
Oh.
Not even once.
Really?
The Wikipedia page mentions these rumors about him trying to bribe other students with snacks, and later on blaming his losses on teachers being unfair.
It's almost a little sad, but it also hints at this...
It's a little pathetic.
Yeah, this need for control and recognition.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So it wasn't just about power, though, right?
Oh,
he
no.
had all these other interests.
Yeah, he was kind of all over the place.
He liked anime.
Yeah.
He got into martial arts. He even earned a second-degree black belt in judo.
Wow.
Plus, he taught himself English and Chinese.
Yeah.
So this paints a picture of someone who is really driven.
Yeah.
And maybe trying to find his place and excel in different ways.
Right. Almost like overcompensating.
Yeah, perhaps.
So his early life kind of gives us this backdrop, right?
Mhm.
A large, not wealthy family.
Yeah.
A physical challenge.
Right.
But also ambition and this drive to learn.
Yeah, these are the seeds that were planted early on, and they might help us understand, though certainly not excuse.
Right. Of course not.
What came later?
So moving into his early adulthood,
Okay.
he tried to get into Tokyo University, which is like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
one of the most
It's
prestigious.
the Harvard of Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But he didn't get in.
Oh.
So eventually he went back to his hometown,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up working in his brother's shop
Okay.
that sold these traditional herbal medicines.
Interesting.
And it's interesting that even back then, he apparently talked about wanting to become either a lawyer
Oh, wow.
or a religious figure.
So that religious inclination was there quite early.
Yeah, like those were his two choices.
Interesting.
And then he gets married
Okay.
to Tomoko Ishii, who later becomes Matsumoto Tomoko.
Mm-hmm.
And they move to a different area, Chiba Prefecture,
Okay.
which is near Tokyo.
Right.
And he starts his own acupuncture clinic
Oh, wow.
and herbal pharmacy. So he calls them Matsumoto Acupuncture Clinic and Asahara.
Interesting.
It seems like acupuncture wasn't completely satisfying for him.
Oh, how so?
Or he started feeling like it could only help people so much.
Oh,
You know, like
yeah.
there was a limit to what it could do.
Right.
So this led him to explore other more,
Mysterious.
mysterious or spiritual practices.
Okay.
And the Wikipedia page lists all these things.
Okay.
He got into fortune telling,
Okay.
a type of acupuncture from Taiwan,
Interesting.
traditional Chinese medicine,
Okay.
and eventually something called Shugendo.
Shugendo.
Have you heard of this?
I have, yeah. It's a kind of like Japanese mountain asceticism.
Oh, wow.
So people go to the mountains for like spiritual training.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
Yeah, it's very intense.
So he was clearly searching for something more.
Yeah, beyond the ordinary.
Right.
It seems like.
And then in 1982, he gets arrested
Oh, no.
for selling medicines without a proper license.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, he made quite a bit of money doing this.
Really?
Something like 40 million yen.
Wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
But he had to pay a fine. And this arrest seems to have been a really significant event.
Okay.
Not just legally, but also for his personal life.
How so?
According to his wife and one of his daughters, this was around the time
Okay.
when his wife started to experience serious mental health issues.
Oh, wow.
So it's a reminder that, you know, these big events have real consequences
Absolutely.
for the people involved.
Yeah.
So out of this mix of early ambition,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with his vision,
Right.
and this run-in with the law,
Yeah.
we see the very beginnings
Okay.
of Aum Shinrikyo.
Here we go.
So it starts with him becoming a disciple,
Okay.
like a student of a man named Nishiyama Shoun,
Okay.
who gives him the religious name Shoko.
All right. So for a while, he was Matsumoto Shoko.
Yes.
But his time with Agon Shu didn't last very long.
Right.
He felt that their teachings weren't quite right,
Oh.
that they weren't sticking to the original Buddhist scriptures that they were supposed to be based on.
So he felt like they were straying.
Yeah, he was like, this isn't the real deal.
Right.
So he left in the summer of 1983.
Okay.
And this was a really important step for him
How so?
because it led him to start his own study center
Oh, okay.
in a busy part of Tokyo called Shibuya,
Okay.
and he called it Phoenix Kairinken.
Phoenix Kairinken.
Yeah, so this Phoenix Kairinken was all about trying to develop special, almost magical abilities
Okay.
through yoga and traditional Eastern medicine.
Okay, so this is getting interesting now.
Yeah, and it was around this time that he fully took on the name Shoko Asahara,
Right.
which name that supposedly means something like Ashura Shakyamuni,
Oh, wow.
which connects to Buddhist figures.
Okay.
So this was another step in his evolution.
Okay.
By early 1984,
Yeah.
Phoenix Carrington changed into the Aum no Kai, or Aum Club.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like a yoga studio at first.
Okay.
He also started a company called Aum. Now, interestingly, the Wikipedia page says that people initially saw Asahara as just a regular yoga teacher.
Really?
Not particularly religious or bossy.
That's hard to believe.
I know, right?
Knowing what happens later.
It's amazing how things change.
So it seems things started to shift around 1985.
Oh, okay.
He claimed to have this special revelation, like a divine message,
Right.
while he was at a beach near Tokyo.
Okay.
And he said it told him he was going to become Abir Kitsunomikoto,
Abir Kitsunomikoto.
which he described as a divine being who would lead a holy army.
Wow, that sounds like something out of a fantasy story.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it was around this time that those now infamous pictures
Right.
that supposedly showed him levitating, floating in the air,
Yeah.
started appearing in these magazines that focused on the occult, you know?
Right, all the mysterious stuff.
Yeah, mysterious and supernatural things.
Right.
So he was actively trying to build this image of himself as a spiritually powerful leader
Yeah.
with extraordinary abilities.
Absolutely.
He also started getting into some really unusual beliefs,
Like what?
like this idea of a mythical metal called hyrocane,
Hurricane.
which just sounds like...
It sounds like something straight out of ancient legends.
It does.
Yeah.
And he started talking about prophecies,
Oh, okay.
predictions of the future, but a special divine race that would come from Japan after some kind of big world-ending event,
Oh, wow.
possibly connected to a prophecy called Harmageddon.
Okay. This is getting pretty far out there.
It's getting pretty out there.
Yeah.
And these increasingly strange and self-important claims
Right.
really set the stage for the transformation
Okay.
into a proper religious organization.
Here we go.
So in 1986, the Aum no Kai officially becomes Aum Shinrikyo.
Okay.
And part of the reason for this was likely to get tax benefits.
Ah, smart.
Yeah, which religious organizations often have in Japan.
Right.
And in July of that year, he claimed to have achieved something called final liberation
Final liberation.
while he was in the Himalayas, those massive mountains in Asia.
Right.
So even in these early days of Aum Shinrikyo, his thinking was already going down a dark path.
Okay.
The Wikipedia page mentions him talking about how he planned to overthrow the government
What?
using both physical force and these supposed supernatural powers he had.
Oh, wow. So he wasn't messing around.
No, he wasn't messing around.
He was serious about this.
And he even mentioned a future conflict with the Freemasons.
No, the Freemasons, the ever mysterious Freemasons.
So it's scary to see these early signs
Yeah.
of his extreme ideas.
It really is. It shows how something that started as,
Yeah.
a seemingly normal yoga group
Right.
quickly turned into something incredibly radical and dangerous.
Yeah. So Aum Shinrikyo is officially formed. Now let's talk about what they actually believed
Okay.
and how those beliefs changed over time.
Right.
It started with yoga,
Right.
but it quickly became this really bizarre mix of different religions and philosophies.
Yeah. The Wikipedia page does a good job of explaining this mix, which they call a syncretic blend.
A syncretic blend.
Yeah. Think of it like a chef,
Okay.
taking ingredients from different cuisines
Right.
and creating this new, sometimes unexpected dish.
Yeah.
In Aryam's case, Asahara was combining elements of Hinduism,
Okay.
different types of Buddhism, Mahayana and Vajrayana,
Right.
and those apocalyptic prophecies we were just talking about.
Right.
So he was pulling ideas from all over the place.
Yeah, like a spiritual buffet.
Exactly, and shaping them into his own story.
And he even managed to connect with some respected religious leaders,
Like who?
most notably Pema Gyalpo and the Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama, wow.
Yeah, the Dalai Lama is a very important figure in Tibetan Buddhism.
Right.
Asahara met with him several times.
Wow.
He definitely used these meetings to promote his group,
Of course.
to make it look more legitimate and respectable.
Right, kind of giving it that stamp of approval.
Yeah, exactly.
But underneath this seemingly spiritual connection, the actual teachings were starting to get darker around 1987. even when the group was still called Aum Shinrikyo,
Okay.
which was a predecessor to Aum Shinrikyo,
Okay.
he started introducing ideas that justified violence.
Like what?
Like Tantra Vajrayana.
Tantra Vajrayana.
Yeah. He also introduced this concept of POA.
Boa.
Now, this is a really important term, and its meaning drastically changed within a koan.
Okay, so initially it had a spiritual meaning, something like
Yeah.
helping a person's soul move to a better place after death.
Right, a kind of spiritual elevation.
Yeah.
But Asahara chillingly twisted this idea to justify killing people.
Oh, wow.
He considered evil or who were getting in his way.
So he was basically manipulating these ideas to fit his own agenda.
Using them to justify violence.
Yeah, and the Wikipedia page highlights that a meeting he had with a religious teacher named Karl Rinpoche in India in 1988 was particularly important in this shift towards violence within the framework of Vajrayana Buddhism. He apparently came back from India and started physically abusing his male followers.
What?
Even saying something like, from now on, it's the rules of Vajrayana.
It shows how he was using these religious ideas to justify his own harmful behavior.
Right, and tragically, in September 1988, the very first death happened within the group.
Oh, no.
And this was a huge turning point, and Asahara's reaction was really disturbing.
What did he do?
He told his followers to hide the death.
What?
And said it was a sign from the Hindu god Shiva that they should fully embrace Vajrayana.
Wow. So anything that happened, no matter how terrible, was twisted to fit his agenda?
Yeah.
That's a pattern we see again and again.
It's scary.
And around this time, he also became really obsessed with trying to interpret the Book of Revelation.
Book of Revelation.
From the Christian Bible.
Wow, so he's
increasingly focused on these end-of-the-world scenarios.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
And by October of that same year, 1988, his way of talking had changed a lot.
Oh, how so?
He started saying that it was pointless to try and save ordinary people, who he described in really negative ways, like calling them animalized or hell being anified.
Wow.
And instead, he claimed that his mission was to save or create a new species.
A new species?
Of spiritually advanced humans.
Wow. So he was becoming more and more disconnected from reality.
Right. And focused on his inner circle.
Yeah. This sets the stage for the really dark part of the story.
Yeah.
The escalation towards criminal activity.
By 1989, Asahara was ordering the murders of one of his male followers and the Sakamoto family.
The Sakamoto family.
A lawyer named Tsutsumi Sakamoto, his wife, and their young child.
That's horrifying.
And the Wikipedia page mentions that people suspected that Aum was involved in the Sakamoto case right from the beginning.
Oh, wow, that's chilling.
These were horrific acts.
Yeah.
And they show the real and terrible consequences of this slide into violence.
Absolutely.
Then in 1990, we see Asahara try to enter the world of politics. He runs for a seat in the Japanese parliament as the head of his own political party.
Wow.
Called the Truth Party.
The Truth Party.
So this election campaign was very strange.
Oh, how so?
He and his followers did these unusual performances.
Like what?
Including singing Aum songs.
Aum songs?
He really thought he was going to win.
Okay.
But when the votes came in, he suffered this huge defeat.
Oh.
Getting only a tiny number of votes.
Ouch.
And his reaction to losing the election was really telling.
What did he say?
He said it was a crushing defeat because he had lost to society.
Wow.
He even suggested that there was some kind of big trick involving the election officials.
Oh, so he couldn't accept it.
Right, he wouldn't take responsibility. And this loss seems to have made him even more extreme.
Oh, no.
He declared that the more peaceful form of Buddhism, Mahayana, couldn't save the world.
Oh, wow.
And now they would have to proceed with Vajrayana.
Vajrayana.
Which, in his mind, meant planning these terrible acts of violence.
Oh.
Using things like botulinum toxin.
Botulinum toxin.
Which is a deadly poison and phosgene gas.
Wow.
A clear sign of his descent into extremism.
Absolutely.
Although he managed to avoid immediate legal trouble related to that Sakamoto lawyer investigation.
Right.
In October 1990, the police did raid Aum facilities for violating land use laws.
Okay.
And this temporarily stopped his plans to acquire weapons.
Okay.
Interestingly, around this time, he made this very odd prediction.
What was that?
Saying that Aum's future rise to global importance depended on him being arrested.
Wow, that's a really bizarre...
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is, yeah.
Then in the early 1990s,
from
about 1991 to 1992, It seems like there was a shift back towards being more public.
Okay.
And appearing more moderate.
Interesting.
The Wikipedia page describes this as a Mahayana legal route.
Mahayana legal route, okay.
He started doing more cultural activities, traveled a lot visiting India, Tibet, Russia, even appeared on popular TV shows, gave interviews and talked with intellectuals and celebrities.
Okay, so he was really raising his profile.
Yeah, he became much more well-known to the public.
Right, and this was during a time when there was a lot of interest in new religious movements.
Right.
But it sounds like this more moderate approach wasn't really genuine on his part.
Right, like it was all an act.
Well, one account suggests that Asahara actually saw this period as a temptation.
A temptation.
Yeah, that was distracting him from his supposed mission.
Right, like a test.
Yeah, exactly.
That he had to resist.
Right.
So according to this account, Asahara felt that this more peaceful path was a temptation to the evil world and was obstructing his mission as the savior.
Wow.
He apparently said that he must not go with this flow.
Oh, boy.
By around 1993, he announces, "We'll start Vajrayana again."
Here we go again.
And the group went back to acquiring weapons and planning illegal activities.
So it was a full return to that secret and violent path.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So he ordered his followers to develop weapons.
Right.
To assassinate people he saw as enemies.
Oh, wow.
And he's even believed to have been present when a pharmacist was brutally murdered.
Oh, no.
And during an incident where a strange odor was released in a public area.
What?
It was later discovered he was also present at the murder of a female follower within the group.
Oh, my gosh.
So his paranoia also seems to have gotten much worse during this time.
Okay.
He started believing that he was being targeted with poison gas.
Poison gas?
And electromagnetic waves.
Oh, wow.
So this led to some really strange countermeasures.
Like what?
Like putting metal netting in his cars to try and block these supposed attacks.
Oh, my gosh.
He also became very interested in astrology.
Astrology.
And even had computer programs made.
Oh, wow.
To help with the cult's operations.
So he was really into technology, too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And on a personal level, his behavior took a disturbing turn.
Okay.
From around 1994, he reportedly started being much more physically affectionate with his children.
Okay.
Hugging and kissing his youngest daughter more often. Taking them out more frequently. It seems very strange in the context of everything else that was happening.
Yeah, that's very odd.
So this was all leading up to even more terrible events.
Okay.
In June 1994, there was the Matsumoto sarin attack.
The Matsumoto sarin attack.
Where sarin gas, a deadly nerve agent, was released in a residential area.
Wow.
This was a clear sign of what was to come.
Right.
With that larger Tokyo subway attack.
Yeah.
Then in 1995, after the massive earthquake hit Kobe, he made a brief visit to the area, but he apparently left very quickly.
Why?
Because he couldn't find a place to relax and play.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That detail is chilling.
It really shows how disconnected he was.
Yeah.
From the suffering of ordinary people.
Wow, a real lack of empathy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, came the planning of the Tokyo subway sarin attack.
Right.
In March 1995.
The Wikipedia page says that Asahara agreed to the plan during a meeting in a limousine with other key members of the group.
Okay.
Just days before the attack took place.
Wow.
And finally, in May 1995, he was arrested.
Oh, okay.
The police initially got some wrong information.
Oh.
That he was near death.
Oh.
In a hidden room.
Oh, okay.
But they eventually found him in a different secret compartment within their main facility.
Okay.
Hiding with a lot of cash and a sleeping bag.
Oh, wow. So he was prepared.
Yeah, he was ready to go.
Interesting.
So after his arrest, he initially confessed to some of the crimes.
Okay.
To the investigators, but his explanations were often bizarre.
Oh, like what?
For example, he claimed that the male follower he had murdered actually wanted to die.
What?
So he was just helping him.
Oh, my God.
With the Sakamoto family, he said he thought it would be cruel to leave the children alive.
Oh, wow.
After killing the parents, and that he was ready to be punished.
Wow.
And he even tried to blame others for some of the other crimes.
Oh, so he was deflecting responsibility.
Yeah, he also asked for a specific lawyer, Endo Seichi, to represent him.
Okay.
But that lawyer refused.
Oh, wow.
It paints a really disturbing picture.
Yeah.
Of someone who was completely out of touch with reality.
Right.
And the seriousness of his actions.
Yeah.
And this sets the stage for the long and incredibly complex criminal trial that followed.
So what were the charges against him?
The charges were huge.
Okay.
17 different counts, including murder,
wow.
attempted murder,
okay,
and making illegal weapons,
right,
totaling 26 deaths.
Wow.
And one death that happened while someone was confined by the group.
Oh, my goodness.
So his defense argued that these crimes were actually committed by some of his followers acting on their own, especially a man named Mirai Hideo, and that Asahara himself never gave any orders for these things to happen.
Wow, so they were trying to say he was innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So the trial was chaotic right from the start. Experts